going on, guys? It's Beam, and today I'm gonna be showing you guys how to do one of the most popular hairstyles on an Afro hairstyle client. Before we attack this haircut, I wanna ensure that we go in and identify the hair type and the hair pattern so we know how to attack this haircut. Okay, so as I'm noticing, my client basically has a 4C curl pattern, and that refers to the tightest, most coil curl type in the hair classification system. It's characterized by being a very tight curl pattern with Z-shaped coils. So it often kind of like lack the curl pattern, but because this client takes care of his hair, you can see the wave. So that's basically majority of his curl pattern. Also, this hairstyle requires more moisture levels just to manage due to the tendency that it may dry out early. So understanding the hair type and understanding the hair pattern, now I know for a fact how I want to attack this haircut in terms of guards and how I want to be able to run my guards through this hairstyle. My first step throughout this haircut, I want to prep the client's hair to be able to be taken down to desired length. This client specifically, I know he likes a waver's haircut, so I want to go in using a comb just to lift this hair off of the client's head. Lifting the hair off the client's head will allow me to run the guards through the client's head as smooth as possible without no tugging, no pulling. And that's the whole point of understanding and knowing the hair pattern. So I want to go in with a comb because brushing won't lift the hair. Brushing just gonna only mat the hair down. Following the pattern of the client's waves as well and the pattern of the swirl here. So I know for a fact that majority of everything back here is coming forward due to how my client brushes his hair. This is what his swirl is here, and you guys can see the pattern shifting this way. So I wanna comb the hair in the pattern, and I wanna cut the hair in that pattern as well, just to preserve it and to be able to give him, you know, the most efficient haircut I could give him. So cutting a client like this or cutting a waver, you wanna kinda stick between 3 guards. Most of the time, those guards would be between a 1, 1.5, or a 2. But for this client specifically, because it's 4C, I know for a fact that he won't be getting a 2. It's too high of a guard. So I'm gonna be focusing on the 1 guard right here, which is a very good length guard that still keeps his hair dark as possible, but allow me to actually trim the hair down to a desired length, giving the hair and the waves a smooth after look. So my first step now is to go in my client's head with my 1 guard halfway open. Anytime throughout my process, I could open my guard up or I could close my guard. I just want to get it down to 1 desired length. So it's very important for me to go in, and I like to kind of start in the back or around the swirl area just to allow myself to get through the hair. And as you guys can see, I just want to focus on doing nice, clean passes that would allow me to keep the hair as consistent as possible, but also get the hair down flush to 1 desired length. As you guys can see, we're able to just trim this hair down with not a single problem. And as you guys also can see, as I was talking about that tight curl pattern, you can see that the waves are now starting to pop out on this client's head. I want to repeat some of the same steps going forward to backwards because a lot of his hair is shifting to the left. So I'm going to keep this same flow all the way around the head till I get this hair down to 1 desired length. And as you guys can see, I'm just trying to make every pass through the hair as consistent as possible and always going behind my previous pass multiple times. When you're dealing with tighter curl patterns, you want to ensure that that hair is down to 1 desired length. You can't pass this hair 1 time and then just believe that that's it. Always go behind it, always double check your work, and always ensure that you are laying the hair down as best as possible. This hair likes to just curl up and get out of the way sometimes, so be very sure that the hair is down to 1 desired length before moving on to the next step. And then right here, in most Afro guys' hairstyles, that's naturally lower than the other. So what I like to do is go up 1 guard, and I like to go up a 1.5 instead of being at a 1, because majority of this hair is normally thinner than the rest of the hair around the head, just to ensure that the crown stays intact. And as you guys can see, I'm just slightly passing, but ensuring that all of the hair gets down to 1 desired length. Focused in this area right here. This is where a lot of his hair likes to shift right here. I'm looking and seeing it right here. You see when you go in there with that 1.5, I can still keep that dense, dark look. Because it's a thin place in his head, you don't want to overcut that down because it's going to appear to be lighter than the rest of his hair. And if I'm trying to achieve consistency, I have to focus on getting everything down to one desired length, even if that means going up in a guard size just to protect his crown so it all looks more even than what it actually is. My next step now is identifying the areas that I want to touch in terms of where I want to blend and where I want to fade. This client specifically, I know he wants to focus on this low ball bursted taper area here, but he really want to accentuate the C cup and keep the C cups as prominent as possible. Also, he want me to drop the fade down a little bit more in the beard to give it more of like, you know, a drastic modern day look, and also keep everything as wide as possible. I want to think about identifying the places that I want to set my guideline. So clearly, you can set your guideline low, you can set it high, you can set it even lower if you wanted to, based on what the client wants specifically. But this guy, because I want to ensure that the C cup stays strong, I want to focus on being in this area, which is kind of lined up with the top of the ear. I want to be focused on this area right here. So as you guys can see, I just want to etch my way in here. And because I know I'm going to be fading his beard a little bit more, I can drop all the way down here and clear this whole area out. My first ball line is completed, and now I can get into actually tapering and focusing on, you know, fading this client's hair. So because I know I cut this client down with a 1, I know for a fact I won't have to go over a 1, at most a 1.5 to actually blend in majority of this hair here to blend it in this area. So my next step is I want to go completely open with my clipper with no guard, just to give myself a marker for how gradient I could be. And I'm gonna give myself about 1/2 inch, which is maybe like a pinky's width, 1/2 inch in that area worth of a guideline. And now that I got that down to one desired length, because I cut them with a 1, I want to stay under a 1. So I'm gonna go with my 0.5 guard, which is my next important guard. And the reason I'm going with the 0.5 guard is now I can start to attack these slightly dark areas before I blend in the open line that I just created with the skin line from the beginning. So open with a 0.5. And what's very important when you are cutting afro type hair is to always have kind of like a C motion when flicking your clippers. The reason I say that is when you create harsh guidelines, it forces you to either push the fade higher or it makes it harder for you to knock out guidelines. So be very consistent and be very alert to what you're doing when you're cutting this type of hair. Because it's not difficult to cut this type of hair, but you can make mistakes because you are overplaying or you are over aggressive with the process of cutting this hair. Sometimes I like to flip my clipper over as well and go with the grain. And then I like to just focus on some of these subtle dark spots in the haircut. These subtle dark spots is smaller places throughout the haircut that allows me to push the haircut, the taper, whatever area I'm in throughout the haircut to the next level. When focusing on the dark spots is going to create this illusion or create this, you know, blended effect that I'm trying to do. Next step, completely close. And that's just the first bottom line. And I just want to stay real close to that balded line because if I go too high, I'm going to give my client a patch. Completely open now. Focus on trimming this area right here, feeding subtle dark pieces through the blade. And throw back on my 0 guard. Completely close. Just to focus on some of these areas right above the open line. Completely open with the grain. Just trimming at the hair. Detailing is very important when you cut an afro hair too as well, because most strands that are out of place stand out. But what I like to focus on in these type of haircuts is just making sure that I'm blending the hair down as best as I can. So as you guys see here, and then always trimming around the ear. Very vital, very important to this type of hairstyle, because a lot of that hair like to just coil up. Your client's neckline will just be full of hair. Now my next step is working on the fade in the beard area. So everything that I essentially did up here, I want to do it down here, but I want to do it in reverse, right? So as I set the ball line, I created an open line, then I went above that with a 0.5. So starting here, I'm gonna start open. You know, I'm just gonna do everything I did here up top, down low, just in reverse. Nothing changes. Process stays the same. Completely open. 0.5 guard, completely open. Halfway. Fully closed. And then this, focus on this area right here. using the clipper and raking out. And when I'm doing that, I'm just able to hit the tips of the hairs, creating that gradient effect that I'm trying to achieve. We want the beard to stay wide, we want it to stay prominent. At the end of the day, I still want to create a gradient effect so everything flows seamlessly. Drop my clippers halfway. Fully closed. And as you guys can see, everything is coming together very well. One of the most important steps now, I want to focus on the nape area. Because my client hair grows far down his nape area, I can go up a little bit higher with my nape initial guideline. I want to find a good spot. I kind of can determine that good spot based on the top of the client's ear, the bottom of the ear. You don't want to fade all the way up here. You want it to be blended, at least in this area, the last bottom wave. And if I have this much area, I could at least cut that in half and start to fade from up. So as you get what I'm saying, I want my fade to end here, but this is where the client hair start. I can go in between that, which is the middle place, create a guideline all the way over, and then from that 1.5 to 2 inches, use that as fade room to work myself into this top area of the boat. Create that half mark, and I'm just using my own hands. It don't have to be perfect. It's just a neck taper, if you get what I'm saying. It don't have to be perfect, the first initial guideline. You can always line up everything throughout the process. I just want to follow this over. And as you guys can see, we could clear everything else from the bottom out. My next step, I want to start completely open. And I'm going to take 1 inch of that real estate away immediately. And the reason that I said that is because my client's hair is cut down with a 1. I don't want to drag a taper all the way down here. It does not make no sense. My client haircut won't last a long time, and next thing you know, my client has a neck full of hair again. On creating simple guidelines that allow me to just get to the next step in my haircut. My next step behind that is now my 1 guard. Now I'm only changing this process up because over on the left side, you see me go ball line, open, 1.5. Because I know this hair is kind of thinner back here, I don't want to overplay my part and lose a lot of real estate. So losing a lot of real estate is going to hurt me in the long run, because once hair is erased, you can't get it back. I can start that 1 guard completely open and fade the majority of this dark area. So as you guys can see, and then close it with the grain. And just focus on just the tips of the hair. In the top area, I'm technically blended in already because I understand my guard system. I understand and know that I cut them with a 1, that I'm already faded in this dark area. I don't have to do no fade work. So be very cautious when doing this, because not every client here will participate in this manner. Completely open. And now completely close. Just the tips of the hair on the end. Now let me go to the 0.5 guard, completely open. I wanna just work in this 1/2 inch area. So open, just on the edge of my teeth. Close it a little bit more, close it a little bit more. And voila, as you guys can see, the only dark spots in this fade or in this taper is the actual wave itself. And this is the 4 hair type I'm telling you about. That tight hair pattern, you can't really see it until the hair is styled. And his hair is styled because he brushes his hair a lot, so you can see the waves coming down. I wanna stay under those last couple waves, because at the end of the day, you got people who got OCD like, oh, I can't see these black lines. You're gonna butcher your client's hair focusing on the wrong things. You have to understand the wave pattern and understand where those waves start and begin and where they end. Because wherever they end is where you leave them alone. So these little black streaks right here, that's just the tip of the wave. You don't have to focus on those areas. Same thing here. Move to the opposite side here. I'm gonna start completely closed. And just piece by piece, brick by brick, layer by layer, we continue to build. Completely open around the ear, always open around the ear. Like I said, well, afro hair is very essential and very, very, very important to trim around the ears. That's where a lot of barbers leave hair, and you leave that hair around the ear, it's a problem for your clients later. Again, back in the same area, close, a little bit open, back to close, back to open, back to close. So as we see that this ball line down here, I'm gonna give myself a head start because I punched that line in to a lot of people. I wanna show you newcomers how to get that line out. I just wanna have the blade reversed and we're gonna go directly at the line, but not a lot. I just wanna stay on the line and just lift the hair just a tad bit. Lift it just a tad bit. because we haven't even tried to fade this area out with our clippers yet. Let's give ourselves a head start for those guys that struggle with knocking that bottom guideline out. As you guys can see, my client has so much real estate back here in terms of the nape area. I have a lot of room to continuously build. Not completely closed on top of that. I can bring this whole thing together now. See what I'm saying? Everything is simple. Close it up a little bit more, rake at the hair. Raking at the hair is just allowing me to trim this hair down without having to reach back for a guard. Raking is a process that a lot of people don't even know about or don't even try to attempt because they are afraid they don't have a guard that they gonna mess up or they gonna plug their client hair. Raking is all about the angle of the clipper. So now I wanna focus on this side of the head. Same thing, punch in that guideline towards the top of the ear, drop that guideline all the way down here, clear this panel out. Next step, completely open, 1/2 inch. Next step after that, 0.5. Next step after that, drop them at least halfway with the grain, using that 0.5. Give yourself some room so we don't have to continuously fade up. Because one thing we learned in steps of this haircut is I've skipped steps on every side of the haircut. This side, I went grammatically correct on my left side. The back side, you watch me finesse the blade and raking methods. This side, I just went from bald line, open, 0.5, and then, you know, with the grain a tad bit, the whole top area is faded already. Now I just gotta focus on this little line down here. Consistency is everything. Finding your system is everything. Knowing your number system is everything. And most importantly, understanding the client's hair in the chair is very, very, very important, but that's a part of your everything. Angle them in just a tad bit more. Always using the hilt of my blade and the corner teeth to really get into those dark spaces. Same thing here, open. And I'm using my brush to like stretch the client's face down so I can really focus in this pocket and start to blend this area out. 0.5. I want to focus on just the mustache area. I want to keep the mustache dark because I still want it to accommodate the beard, but I want to trim it down enough to where when I start to put a line on it, everything starts to look nice. And this is with a 0.5 guard, completely open. And as you guys see, we're starting to knock some of this loose hairs and stuff out the way so we can really focus on a clean mustache. Now, foundation for this haircut is completed in terms of the taper. Now we have to build foundation for the lineup, which is one of the most important. When you're dealing with 4C hair or hair like this, or even clients of darker skin tones, African Americans to be specific, they care about their line work. They care about how sharp they look. They care about how clean they look. So with that being said, we're about to jump into a whole different segment, but we're gonna build up foundations to get this haircut as nice and precise towards the end of it. So let's go to it. All right, so now I wanna go in using some steps that'll help me take this haircut to the next level. Just being under the lights, or just in case if you have a client that actually has oily skin, oil likes to build up in the corner of men like lineup area. That's where a lot of the oil like to build up and stay. So I wanna just basically assist that using a dry shampoo. Dry shampoo is used to absorb the oils. It won't clean the hair, but it will absorb the oils and dry the area out. So once I'm able to, you know, clean the surface and then attack with my trimmers, I could create nice, clean, sharp lines. It is an alternative. I like to use hot lather. I like to wash the client's hair even more. Like, those are two ways that are clearly better than dry shampoo. But when I'm not at my station and I'm, you know, creating at the creative studio, I like to use dry shampoo just to allow me to dry those areas out and then attack the lineup and still get those crispy, clean lines. So as you guys see, I want to just focus on the corner area right here. And focusing on the corner area right here just allows me to dry this area out. Same thing with the top of the beard. Now, I want to allow this thing to sit for at least 30 seconds so I know for a fact that the dry shampoo is activated and it's absorbing all of the oils. Okay, now my next step is to get the dry shampoo out of the client's head. You like to use a soft bristle brush. That soft bristle brush will allow you to move the product out of the client's head. So for a lot of people that think, oh, the process is rough, that's the whole objective of using a soft bristle brush. Using a soft bristle brush does not hurt your clients at all, and you're just able to get the surface as clean as possible. Again, like I said, with dry shampoo, I just want to dry the area out and prep it so I could get these nice, sharp, clean lines. The next step behind the dry shampoo is literally alcohol. And with this alcohol, I just basically want to hit the tips of the hair. Because I use dry shampoo, it kind of makes the client hair appear to be like dried out or cast out. So I'm gonna go behind that with the alcohol just to take that dry look away. So my next step now, I just want to blow dry the hair after assisting it with alcohol. My next step is to hit the client with hold-on spray. The reason I say hold-on spray, remember, I mentioned about that 4C hair type, that Z-shaped pattern. This hair likes to coil you up a lot. So with that being said, I want to freeze and lock this hair into place. So every time I strike with my trimmers, I could get nice, clean, precise lines. And you don't have to overly apply the hold-on spray. You just want to get it in the spots that you know you want to focus on lining or doing line work at. And now I want to just focus on drying the client's hair. And drying the client's hair just basically locks the hold-on spray and locks the freeze spray in for me. Most important step, which is to float over the top of the client's waves, completely closed. This is a vet technique. I do not expect newcomers to just use it right out the gate. You got to get comfortable with your tools, and you got to become very light-handed to do this. So what I like to do is freehand over the top of the client's hair just to knock off all of the loose hairs. Just take your time. I just try to focus on being a part of the wave that's there. Now my next step is frame out work. All of my frame out work throughout my process allows me to be in pockets that I need to be in. And this is why skin prep is very important, because at the end of the day, I told you, when you prep the skin, you get those clean, crispy lines. Now granted, we're nowhere near done, but you guys can see like that subtle white ghost line that's popping out when I'm hitting the client's neck area. And the reason that happens is because I prep the skin to be able to go through this process. And just taking my way all the way around the ear. Rotate my client just to the side a bit and focus on the back of the neckline, because these lines need to be running parallel with each other. Repeating the same steps. You guys see those white lines popping out every time I strike the hair? Skin prep, skin prep, skin prep. If prepped correctly, you could get some of the most exaggerated looks. And when you cutting clients like this with afro hair, most of the time when you consult with them, they're gonna want that crispy line. They're gonna want that line to pop out. That's why skin prep is so important. Now moving to this side. And as you guys can see, I'm able to push the white line. So now my next step is to work on reference points, which is reference points will allow me to set myself up and have solid foundation, right? So I like to set up reference points to play connected dots so I can be as precise as possible. As you guys see my client's hairline here, I want to focus on just creating a straight vertical bar, and we won't worry about anything in the front. Stay focused, create a nice solid line, and voila, one vertical line out the way, right? And now created another straight line. So now that I have two straight lines, my most important objective is how do I play connect the dots between those two lines? Let me give you a tip. Once I spin my client all the way around. I look at my client from a front profile and I'm starting to see just the natural look of his lineup. Because I have 2 reference points, for me personally, for it to work for me, I need to set a 3rd reference point. So you thinking, Beam, where would you set the 3rd reference point, seeing you did one here, one here? It won't be the curves, because the curves is the least a part of my, it's the least important part of my job right now. My next curve is my center point. That's connected to the tip of the nose, going directly up to the furthest hair. And right there is where I want to set my 3rd reference point. So remember, using the center of the nose, focused on the darkest hair for me, or the darkest closest hair to me, is here. And because I don't want to push my client back, I'm very focused on setting a nice clean 3rd reference point. So now we get reference A, reference B, and reference C. So now we can play connect the dots. Because I have a point here and I got a point here, I can roll this line all the way to the left to finish this spot. But before I roll to the left, some clients' lineups go down, some lineups go backwards. I'm focused on creating 90 degrees, meaning I need to be here. So if this is the front of the lineup, I need to meet it here. I'm trying to develop a 90-degree angle, or as closest to a 90-degree angle as possible. So as you guys see, the hair is super light, but this is a client that I understand and know that he does not want me to push him back to a super dark zone. So what does that mean? I use all of my skills and all of the things that I know to create the best lineup for this client possible, to preserve as much hair as possible. And as you guys can see, my corner meet up perfectly. I have a 90-degree corner. Recenter myself in my center and work myself to the right. It's very vital and very important for you to listen to your client. That's why consulting is very important. When you consult with your client and understand exactly what they want, it's easy to achieve the looks that you're looking for. Even if the client don't have all of the strengths in terms of the lineup or all of the strengths in terms of the hair, we accommodate them as best as possible. Accommodating them as best as possible is what's gonna allow your clients to leave with some form of satisfactory. So now my next step is the C-cup. Beam. How do I do a proper C-cup? The same way you did a lineup. We play connect the dots. I'm looking at his furthest darkest hair and I'm attacking it here, bringing it towards me. And as you guys see, I got one subtle guideline. So I want to create my next guideline at the bottom of that. I created a slight ghosted area here. And from that area, I want to roll myself up into my C-cup. So I created 2 reference points to create me a clean C. And voila, we got a clean curve on the lineup. The next step, or the hardest part about the curve of the lineups, is when people be like, hey Beam, how do I get my C shapes to be the same? I like to just use a comb, for instance, and wherever I put that comb, the tip of the comb, and the last tooth of the comb should line up with my corner. That's how much or how long my next C shape should be. Everything above my thumb. I like to go all the way over here, move my client to this side, compare the C shape, top of the line there. That's gonna be a perfect C shape. His hair naturally is the same length on both sides, so I didn't even really need my comb. Brush that down a little bit, stay focused on being on the edge. First proper guideline has to come in correctly. I focus on being here and dragging myself all the way up into this C-cup. Barbering is what you make it. I learned how to apply geometry and simple mathematics to the things that I do to just help me create better shapes. And I like to go behind that and forcefully clean up any overhangs or extra hairs. So now that we got a solid foundation, I want to focus on bringing my client's haircut to the next level, taking it to a next level. This is something that I know for a fact in the Afro community, a lot of clients of mine they like color, they like that pop, they like that flair to take their haircuts to the next level. I'm gonna be using Artoon 45 no drip color. I'm using the color Onyx because my client do have black hair, and I'm gonna subtly layer it to give it some of the most realistic, but some of the most modern day look in terms of a hairline. I want it to be full, I want it to be rich, but I want it to be very sharp, very angled. So I'm gonna basically show you guys the steps of using this color. So I wanna go in using the Tune 45 clutch card. This card will help me stay very, very consistent and in my boundaries. The reason I use this card is so I don't spray outside of the areas I need to spray outside of. It keep me in my zone. I'm also gonna be using the Beam Team Cordless Compressor XL. And I like to place this card directly on the corner of the client's hair. And then I like to burst the color, being at least 3 to 4 inches away, and just subtly bursting the color. Bursting the color allows me to add more pop, more flair, and more flash to my client's haircut. Using a rounded area to perfect my C cup now is also important. Focus on the lighter areas by layering and making them, dense. You don't have to sit here and hold color. 3 to 4 inches, spray for about 2-3 seconds, bag up. Look at it, go back in. If it's not dark enough or to your liking. Consistency is everything. When you create consistency, your clients love it. Back of the nape, focus on just keeping this clean as possible. The haircut foundation was good, it was clean. But we adding this extra pop, this extra flair. These are services that could be added to your daily services to not only allow you to make more money behind the chair, but offer services to clients that are looking for these things. It's clients that have natural light spots. It's clients that are, battling alopecia. You want to be able to get in these zones and offer these services to clients that wish they could have them. Focus on the corner. And also, instead of spraying directly at the line, I'm over spraying. You could spray at the card and let the color bounce into the client's hair. That's very important for any beginner out there that don't know how to use color. Place the card, spray at the tip of the card, allowing the color to roll into the client's hair. Same steps here. When you're in the front, you're more direct though. You can't really overspray how you want to. So you want to kind of spray at the tip of the card as well and just allow the color to roll into the hair. Simple, clean, consistent. As you guys can see, and then some of these hairs that just are streaky, we go in between these hairs and just fill them in, giving the client a more fuller, more richer, more dense look. 2-3 seconds, bag off. 2-3 seconds, bag off. An airbrush compressor makes the job so much more easier. So with that being said, you just have to elevate the look. So in instances like this, I want to double up on my color. The reason that I say that is because when I'm using No Drip, it's a non-chemical based product that is waterproof, but it does not build on top of the hair. So it acts to me as a perfect foundational base of color. I can build on top of that with our Tomb 45 hair building fibers, because when fibers stick to hair, they create more of a fuller, denser look. They actually stick to the follicles themselves and kind of, expand when you spray them, or you spray a lot of it in one area, allowing the color to build up. So I'm looking at this client's lineup. Everything looks good so far. I'm gonna lean this head down, and I'm gonna use the Tomb 45 pump, the single nozzle pump, and I just wanna go in and subtly burst in these areas. You don't have to over apply it. You see how I'm doing subtle bursts? Like instead of me doing push, I'm halfway pushing the ball just so I can layer this color. Halfway pushing. I'm just layering. That's all I'm doing. When you layering it, you're customizing the haircut per client. You want to have that type of control behind the chair. If you don't have that control behind the chair, this is how color come out too black. This is how color don't come out enough. It's because a person isn't paying attention to the process itself. Subtle burst. That corner is full. Vertical bar area, subtle burst. Put the round part of the car here. Subtle burst. And then we focus on some of the darker spots in the hair that just naturally get streaks. Voila. Clean, consistent. You can't beat services like this. When you offer these services to your clients, it allows you, like I said, to make more revenue. And it also allows you to instill this confidence in clients that are suffering from alopecia or suffering from, recession or just hair loss, period. This is how you take it to the next level and be able to accommodate these customers. I'm into client satisfactory. That's the only way I can tell you. I'm into satisfying my clients. If I can't satisfy my clients, I'm not doing my job well. I want to focus, put my card here, do a subtle burst. 2-3 pumps at a time. Bag off, look at it, see what you got. Go back at it if certain areas still look spacey or certain hairs, it's all customizable. We are artists behind this chair. If you're not creating art with what you're doing, it's gonna be very hard for you to satisfy certain clients. What you guys see, subtle burst, bag off, turn the client's head. Always you're looking at it at certain areas so I can see what some of the lighter spots are. Using the top pump, I'm halfway pressing it. I'm not fully pressing. I'm not releasing a lot of color. I gotta have control of this, just so I could get a natural, clean, dark, look for my client. we cooking up something beautiful. To lock this in, we want to double up on our Holland spray. We used it earlier, but now we want to go in and just focus on the areas that we sprayed the fiber. The reason that I say that is when we focus on the areas where we sprayed the fiber, it allows us to lock it in. You see what I'm saying? I just want to lock in what I did earlier. And locking in what I did earlier is going to have my client consistent. Like, I'm looking at it, everything looks beautiful right now. So now let's start to attack and really have fun and get really, really, really advanced with the systems. I lift my client up and focus on the mustache, keeping everything close in proximity but sharp. Close in proximity but sharp. Same thing here. So now I want to go behind using a semi-permanent color. And the reason that I'm using a semi-permanent color is because my client loves to have this very like razor sharp image look. What the colors that I use up top, I could use at the bottom as well. But to give you guys the most value, I want to show you guys techniques that a lot of barbers don't show in the industry. And I want to make it available for you guys. So I'm just using, you can use any semi-permanent you want. You know, there's different companies out there for you guys to use. And I want to go behind that with an application brush, put color on the brush and then scrape at it because I'm just using it in a plastic container. And then I want to go behind that and subtly put my line down. And the reason that I do this, a lot of people I know will be like, whoa, 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 whoa. He's adding color and he didn't even line the beard. That is the whole point of what I do. Because when I'm doing the beard, I have full control to literally like annihilate this area. I want to have full control. When the client's beard is dense like mine, you can already see where the line is. But that's the whole point of, that's why I say you got to develop your eye and be behind the chair more and more. Sometimes you can look at a client and see exactly where his beard line should be. And because I know where my client beard line should be, I could go in and just add color there. This is less stress on the face as well. Imagine you cutting a client and you hit the client face with your trimmers first, which may be pretty sharp. Then you go behind it, add color, then come behind it with a straight razor. You're putting so many processes on people's faces. This is why I see so many people have irritation with their faces. It's all about making the process easy for myself, and me doing this allows me to create a line without having a line. I just use the client's hair as color, and then I just stack the color on top of that to make it even more prominent. Now look, my client has a beard line already, and you can still see the overgrowth of the beard. We'll attack that later, but as you guys can see, that's a clean beard line. That's what I want to show you guys. I want to show you guys levels. I want to show you guys techniques that people don't use, or people do use in the industry, but they don't give them out to you guys. So I wanted to just give you guys a simple technique. Any semi-permanent, just patch test your client first, just to make sure that you can use it. You don't want to just throw a chemical-based product on a client. Always patch test first, but then as you guys can see, once you're able to apply and lay these lines in, look how beautiful this looks. This is amazing. So now, I just want to meet the client head on. I see the first line starts in the corner of his mouth here, so I know for a fact, because my client got more of a symmetrical face, that I can place that first line there. I just want to place that first line there, and then I want to turn my client so you guys can see the rest of the process. Always line your points up, line your squares up, and then let's build on top of that. Go back behind it, boom, and just slightly tap the color in. You ain't gotta over apply color. You don't have to overdo it. Subtly tap this color in, and we creating shapes. It's simple, it's consistent, it's clean. This is how we take these haircuts to a next level. My next step, bring the client's head down and just double back. And the reason I'm telling you guys to double back is because we use that second layer of Holland spray to lock those fibers in. But you guys see, as I hit the hair, it continuously spits the white line. And the reason that it does that is because we prep the client's skin. It's what takes the haircut to the next level. It's what creates that crispy look. And then a little bit right here in the tip of the corner, just to really bring it together. Okay, so now my favorite step throughout the process. It is called, just straight razor. Today I'm using the Tomb 45 Turkish style razor. It's my favorite razor on the market. It's very thin, it's very sleek, and I could get in the smallest of crevices with this blade. Lean my client back in relaxation. Focus on just the top line itself. Always stretch the skin, angle your blade at a 45-degree angle, and bring everything back to the highest part of the line. So as you guys can see, stretch my client's face, razor angled at a 45-degree angle, bringing everything back to the highest part of the line. So everything that you see now is just residual buildup from Hold & Spray. But there's a way to get this under control and make it look how I need it to look. And that's what I'm finna teach you guys right now. Once we're here, I know for a fact that that overdrive hair that was there is there. I go behind that with a whisk, dust it off. Now we take the same shot again, just to overly clean the process up. But this time, instead of scraping at it, we'll do precisely thought out passes with our razor. As you guys see here, I'm here, bring it to the line, pull away. Look how we get that clean, sharp razor image. That's what I'm trying to teach you guys today on Afro hair. This is very important and essential to the soul of all of my clients. That's why I am who I am today. My clients come to me for precision. They come to me for these crispy looks. This is what they want. Repeat the same steps here. As you guys see, come right underneath that, focus on the points. Everything else flows perfectly. Now focus on the vertical bar. Keeping the beard squared and wide, because that's how my client likes it. And then clearing the whole neck area out. As you guys can see, we got an amazing haircut so far. So I want to have my client just stretch the mouth area just so I can focus on upper areas of the stash. I want to be able to let my client see exactly what we did.
That's a perfect haircut, man.
Turn him a little bit so he can see his opposite side.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Everything.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it's the whole nine.
It's the whole nine.
It's the whole nine.
That dry shampoo.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
it's lit. So hopefully I was able to give you guys some gems. I wanted to show you guys how to attack, Afro hair clients. This one particularly was a 4C. I wanted to show you guys how to do a nice, clean, desired length, nice low ball taper, but also still accentuate the beard, keep it wide as possible, give it a faded modern day look, but at the same time, elevate your services and show you guys how to incorporate these different services to how you incorporate these different services so you guys can make more revenue behind the chair, but also satisfy every one of your clients.